Okay, wir sind hier bei Paul Aston von Deerstalker. Er hat uns seine neuesten Abfüllungen mitgebracht und wir werden das Interview wieder auf Englisch führen. Welcome Paul, thank you for joining us. Could you tell us something about Deerstalker and how you came to do this independent bottling?
Yes, well I don't know if many people know anything about the Deerstalker name, but the Deerstalker name actually dates back to 1880. And here, for example, is one of the very first, this was the first label that was ever used for Deerstalker. So it was trademarked way back in 1880, and it has been owned originally by a small wine and spirit company based in Leith in Edinburgh. They promoted it. Here, for example, is Deerstalker in the 1950s on a bus in Edinburgh. So the name Deerstalker, as I say, first appeared in 1880 on a whiskey bottle, but it has actually been sold ever since. And the name Deerstalker really comes in the Highlands. If you have an estate in the Highlands and there is salmon fishing and there is grouse shooting, there is also deer stalking. And these are important elements for the economy of a Highland estate. And the Deerstalker was a character who would go out and he would take guests out to stalk deer. And it's part really in Scotland, 40% of the European population of red deer are based in Scotland. And so a stalker's job is very important to make sure that the herds don't become overpopulated. So the stalker would go out, as I say, with estate guests. And he became a very important character. But Deerstalker is also known for, you may recognize this person. So this is Sherlock Holmes. Now, Sherlock Holmes was written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and he created this story about a fictional detective. And the fictional detective was always wearing this hat called a deerstalker. Here's one. So this is what a deerstalker hat looks like.
It's you too well.
Thank you. And these were hats that would be worn by Highlanders going out into the glens. When the weather became really, really bad, they would undo it like this and bring it down and tie it up. So basically it was protecting their ears. It's made of Paris tweed, so it's extremely warm. So this is also an element of Deerstalker. And if I show you on our whiskey, you will see, the first thing that you see, this is the character of the Deerstalker. This element here you will also see, this is the Deerstalker hat. So that's really the history behind the name. Now we have different whiskies. We have limited release. This is an example, single cask bottlings. We bottle at 48%. This cask is North British. Obviously, if it's single cask, you're only getting about 200 bottles. This is our Highland edition. This is a blended malt. Another word to describe blended malt is vatted or pure malt. And the reason we have created these is because we're an independent company and we obviously have little affiliation with particular distilleries. It's important for us to be able to provide whiskies that we can get hold of. With a blended malt, we can take whiskies that are perhaps less fashionable, not always at 10 or 12. We can blend them with older, more interesting whiskies as well, and create a blended malt. This is our Highland edition. And at the show, we are launching this, which is the peated edition. Now again, the peated edition, we've taken whiskies not just from Islay, but we've also taken whiskies from the Highlands, blended them together. Our master blender and distiller is John McDougall. He has great knowledge. He knows how to get the best out of blending whiskies. So this is launched today. It's 43%. I would describe it as a very drinkable whiskey. Basically, it's got floral tones, and then you start to get into the peatiness of the whiskey. There's a little bit of treacle there, a little bit chewy, and then you get a little bit of spice towards the end. So it's not right at the top level of the Lagavulins. This is around about 18 to 20 ppm, so it's an excellent introduction to peated whiskey. It's drinkable at any time. And what we try to achieve with all Deerstalker whiskies is that they are approachable and easy to drink whiskies. They don't tend to be at the extremes. Here in Germany, we have an association. We're working with Die Whiskybotschaft, who we're launching with this today, and they're our exclusive representation for this in Germany. So that's, in a nutshell, that's Deerstalker.
How many bottles of the new one have been produced?
Okay, we produced about 192 cases, so times 6. So it really isn't very many bottles by comparison to the larger guys.
But you will do it in batches?
We would do it in that sort of quantity of batches, because we're only putting it into about 3 casks. So it's always going to be a small scale production.
So thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
That's a pleasure. Thank you. If you